Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
Hey, I'm still figuring out Max.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, it's Tuesday and anything can happen.
And most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, that's when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on our show, we reserve the right not to answer something if we don't think it's appropriate. Go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, here's the really good news about the tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're listening to this show a little bit later on podcast, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question if you'd like. And if you send one in when we're not actually live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our first topic here, shall we? And that one is this. You know, Superman has been riding pretty high, 2 weeks in a row, number one, now number two at the box office, only behind Fantastic Four, and still doing well. We talked the other day about how it passed the $500 million mark in just 16 days. And they're now just days away from breaking even, becoming profitable. Good for them. They're getting close to what I would have considered to be optimistic box office numbers a few months ago, but it looks like they're going to get to that. But a new milestone, Rob, was passed today. As is now being reported. This one coming from Newsweek. Superman blows past Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. And not just Man of Steel. Superman, the new James Gunn Superman, has become the highest grossing domestically in the US and Canada box office, highest grossing standalone Superman film of all time. That includes all the Christopher Reeve films, the Brandon Routh film, my boy Henry Cavill's film. It is now the highest grossing Superman film domestically of all time. Good for them. Still has some work to do internationally. I mean, we talked about that on its opening weekend, that internationally it's difficult. Superman, despite the fact being Canadian, is very synonymous with America. And America's name isn't great around the world right now at the moment. So it still has some work to do there. But as far as the U.S. audiences go, Superman crosses that threshold, becomes the number one highest grosser. Man of Steel is still my favorite Superman movie. Ask me that again in a couple of months once I've had a chance to marinate with this Superman a little bit longer. But as of right now, my boy Henry is still my favorite Superman movie. But this is a wonderful an accomplishment, Rob, quite frankly, given the circumstances in which Superman was opening, that I've said for a couple of years, I didn't think it could do it. And I mean, it's barely doing it, but it has done it. Anyway, you heard about this new little milestone at Sid. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, as a genre film fan growing up when I was a little kid, I was happy to get any science fiction, fantasy, or horror-related material to see. And now we live, we have an embarrassment of riches. We live in the Shangri-La of fantasy filmmaking, the likes of which we've never seen before. And to me, it's really exciting when you have not just a new Superman movie, but an entirely new universe being birthed. That's going to give way to Lanterns, to Supergirl, to Peacemaker Season 2. We're all going to learn a new dance, John. And I'm excited. I'm excited
still working
for this.
on the first season's dance.
Me too. But it's great. I mean, it's great that this movie's connecting with people. It's great that the family audience has been embracing it. The people are having a good time. And I think it's fantastic. And people, what is this, date 17 that it's been out or something?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about a 45-day release window, Superman's doing quite well. You know, and if anyone throws the word mid at me, the laziest critical term I've ever heard in my life, mid, that requires the least amount of cogent discourse from you possible. Mid.
Which isn't even that bad. It literally means it's at the mean of like all
Yeah,
films.
it's at the mean. Yeah.
You know, I look, I think it's great. I think that this movie is very entertaining. I've seen it multiple times. I enjoyed it, and it deserves it. And it's still, I mean, it passed 500 million globally, and it's not like no one's going to see it foreign. I mean, I think it passed $200 million, around the world, and it's still clocking like $7 million a day domestically.
Yeah,
Not so bad.
yeah. So for the international, it's made 214 million, and it has now crossed 292 million as of today, domestically, and then we'll see where it's at after this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, and I think it's got all of August to sail through until the kiddies go back to school, and I think it's going to do quite well for itself. I have $1,000 bet it's going to outgross Man of Steel, so here's hoping.
See, that to me is still pretty out, because remember, Man of Steel,
670 million.
I was going to say we're 665, 660. Actually, no, I'm going to look that up. I think it's
670 and
665. Hold on a second. Man
Trust me on
of
this.
Steel. Let's see. You're saying 670. I'm saying 665. It is 670.
Oh, I had to look.
Oh, you looked. Oh, okay. You looked,
Because
that's fine.
I got, on X, if I don't pay up and I lose. It's such a weird thing. Before we saw the movie, I thought it could do $1 billion. People like, are you embarrassed?
I knew for years. It could
Yeah, you
never
said
come
no.
close
I said
to that,
maybe.
yeah.
Are you embarrassed? I'm like, look, man, I hit 85% of the time. Sometimes I'm wrong, especially if I haven't seen a movie yet and I'm going by my gut. So what if I'm wrong? I hadn't seen the movie. I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah, I still think a lot of people underestimate. And it doesn't matter how long I preach about this, because like I said, Rob, I've been talking about this for years, is that I think even today people underestimate how strong the headwind was against this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out of the DCEU, because
100%.
you and me and people who watch a show like this, we don't care what happened in the DCEU.
No.
We're looking forward to this movie. But the average movie going on, so again, and we brought up these charts before.
Yeah.
When you look at how the movie audience for the DC movies declined exponentially to the point that out of their final 4 movies, like 3 of them made 200 million or less.
Yes.
And I think people just fail to take that into consideration, that the complete general movie going audience had completely given up. And listen, despite the fact that I think Henry Cavill is still my favorite Superman of all time, all due respect for Christopher Reeve, but Henry's my favorite Superman. Most people disagree with me. Despite the fact that I feel that way, a lot of people didn't really like Superman all that much. And it was just a really, for it to accomplish this, when you take into consideration the context and the circumstances in which it came out, I personally think these are in the realm of what I would have considered optimistic.
It's also, people are everyone's trying to paint this as a loss or somehow being a loss. But I would say what you have to realize is that DC did not just spend money on this movie. Supergirl is shot. Lanterns is made. Peacemaker Season 2 already exists. There's been a huge expenditure of cash. And this is the beginning, this is the foundation, the first block of the foundation of an entirely new cinematic universe. So you kind of have to take it all collectively as a whole. And I, for one, am really interested to see where they're taking Supergirl and Crypto,
Yeah.
in the next movie. And Lanterns 2 fascinates me. Where's that going?
Okay, listen.
Come on, Coach Taylor.
I'm excited about Supergirl. I am. I mean, you got Jason Momoa in there, the ending of Superman, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited about it. But if I'm being honest, the one I am most intrigued by is Lanterns.
Yeah,
That's
me
the
too.
one I'm most intrigued by right now.
Well, also, you think about the cosmic nature of it all.
Yeah.
By definition, you've got Oa, the Guardians of Oa. You've got the entire Green Lantern Corps. You've got Sinestro out there somewhere. There's a lot of intergalactic goofiness that I'm waiting to see. But they make it, that one picture that they gave us, there's no indication of any of that. It's 2 guys walking down a lonely road. It might be the Incredible Hulk of Green Lantern shows, the TV series.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah, it'll have its own
what
little
was the comparison they made?
piano
They
keys.
said that this Lantern is going to be like a True Detective meets, and I can't remember what the other comparison was.
Count me in.
Yeah, I know.
You had me at
right?
hello.
And add in Guy Gardner. And I'm totally on board for this. I can't wait. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? Superman has now become the highest grossing at the domestic box office, the highest grossing Superman film of all time, passing my boy Henry, my favorite Superman movie, Man of Steel, for that #1 spot. It still has a way to go to catch it worldwide, though. Rob thinks it can do it. I think that's a little optimistic, but we'll see how it works out. How do you think it's going to all shake out? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, everybody is talking about and everybody is very excited about the new Christopher Nolan film, The Odyssey. They played a little sizzle for it in theaters and IMAX screens for people to see. I don't think they've dropped it online yet, have they?
No.
Yeah, they still haven't put that online yet. I'm sure it's going to come at some point. It'll be out pretty soon. But apparently the movie is not without its controversy. A new headline in Deadline reads, Christopher Nolan accused of fueling quote-unquote brutal repression by filming The Odyssey in occupied Western Sahara. If you're saying to yourself, occupied Western Sahara? You're not alone. I didn't know the Western Sahara was being occupied either. And I certainly didn't know it was being occupied by Morocco. This is what the article reads.
College students aren't protesting this brutal occupation.
Yes. Christopher Nolan has been criticized for shooting elements of Universal's all-star epic The Odyssey in Morocco-occupied Western Sahara. The decorated British director has been filming near the coastal city of Dakhla, which is part of a region that the United Nations has designated as a non-self-governing territory since 1963. The territory, which has become a magnet for big budget shoots like the Amazon series The Wheel of Time, is not legally a part of Morocco, but the US and UK are among Western governments to recently endorse the North African nation's claim over the land. Now, I'm going to continue reading this on a little bit at length because this is really interesting to me. The Western Sahara International Film Festival, also known as FI Sahara, which takes place in the Sahrawi, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, refugee camps in Algeria, called on Nolan to urgently halt shooting in the region. Universal has been contacted for comment. They said this, Dakhla is not just a beautiful location with cinematic sand dunes. Primarily, it is an occupied, militarized city whose indigenous Swahili population is subject to brutal repression by occupying Moroccan forces. I didn't even know there was such thing as Moroccan forces until we got into this. The festival said, by filming part of the Odyssey in an occupied territory billed as a news black hole by Reporters Without Borders, Nolan and his team, perhaps unknowingly and unwillingly, are contributing to the repression of the people by Morocco. So basically they're saying, listen, we believe, it goes on to say, I won't read it all at length, but it goes on to basically say, the film festival is saying, listen, we think if Christopher Nolan really knew what was going on here, and if he understood what was happening here, we think he would pull out and not shoot there. All right. This raises an interesting question that comes up every once in a while in different sorts of contexts. It can maybe even be thrown under the larger category and umbrella heading of like separating art from the artists, or, you know, when does the art come into play and when does politics come into play, and all that kind of stuff. On the one hand, my thought goes to, listen, Christopher Nolan is not an international diplomat. He is not a member of any government. He is not a part of any political affiliation. He is an artist making a movie, making art, and there's a piece of earth somewhere that suits the background for his art for him to go and tell his story.
That already is a production hub.
As mentioned in the article, others have used it.
And the UK and the United States have officially recognized the government.
Right. The UN has not.
No.
And so there's the one hand of that. On the other hand, you have the people who actually live in the area saying, listen, this is a news black hole. Nobody talks about it. Again, I didn't even know this political situation existed. I really didn't.
Me neither.
And I watch news every day, and I didn't know about this. So they're saying what is happening here in our area is brutal, and the people there have no freedom. They're not even allowed to make their own films telling their own stories. We are living under occupation.
But there's a film festival in a refugee camp.
Outside of it. Yeah, that's because they're trying to bring, you know, life and bring stuff there. So Javier Bardem, Salma Hayek have all come out and spoke out on their behalf as well with this film festival. And again, they're not taking an attacking tone on Christopher Nolan. We say, we just don't think Christopher understands what's going on here. We think he is unwillingly and unrealizingly contributing to this. And we think if he really understood this and knew this, we think he wouldn't want to shoot here. So I'm of two minds on this. Like, on the one mind, I try to put myself in the shoes of the people who live there, a plight of which I've never even known about. And on the other hand, the big machine, because listen, it's art, but having a production like the Odyssey is a massive machine. What is it he says in Succession? I'm trying to steer an oil tanker. That's what it's like trying to make one of these big budget films. So I am sitting here now, honestly, I don't know what to think. I honestly don't. Like I haven't ruminated with this long enough to really form any kind of opinion, but I do see it's a dilemma. I see this as an awkward situation. And if Christopher Nolan were to call me right now, as he often does, and say, John, did you see about this Western Sahara thing? I say, yeah, Chris, looks rough. What do you think I should do? I don't fucking know. I honestly, I don't know. I financially, it might be too late to do anything about it. I mean, something like this is something that should have probably been brought to light prior to shooting starting, once it became known that he was going to shoot there. But I think at this point, here's what I think shakes out, Rob. And I'm not saying this is what I think should happen. This is the way I think it shakes out. I think Christopher Nolan's going to finish this shoot. They're going to finish this movie. And then I think some point, I think he's going to lend his voice to the same voices of like Javier Bardem and say, listen, had we known about this, but I mean, we were already there, we couldn't stop at this point, but this is an important matter. So I think they're going to finish the shoot and then probably add his name to the roll call of people speaking out against it. I mean, I don't really know. And Rob, you're hearing about this. Christopher Nolan gives you a call, says, Rob, you've advised Bob Iger very well over the year at your racquetball games.
Yeah. Going to Jeffrey's in Malibu.
He told me I should give you a call. What do you think we should do about this situation? How should we resolve this?
Well, first of all, I would say that, when a Hollywood production comes to a local place, it infuses a lot of money into the local population, and they hire a lot of locals, perhaps as construction workers. There's a lot of economic benefits to when Hollywood comes a-calling. Another added benefit to that is we're all liberal coastal elites, John. And when we get involved in causes, there's no better way to get, Hollywood liberal libtards out there speaking out about a cause. So we're all going to talk about it and be like, there's repression here. Like you and I, we didn't even know Morocco was occupying this land. So I think in the long run, you have in the short term, there's a gain there that I think a lot of the population in that area benefits from the economics of having a Hollywood production come to town and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Or millions
of dollars hiring local labor, buying food, doing whatever they need to do. And the added benefit of some of the most visible people in the world, the most well-known people in the world, who may suddenly take up your cause, who, like us, probably knew nothing about this, because they're going, Christopher Nolan's, he's looking around with his locations manager. Where can we shoot this scene? They're not doing geopolitical, let's talk about the political situation in this country going back years. They're only thinking about where can they shoot, where have there been shoots before that are used to having productions come in that we can have, it's like when we went and produced Hills Run Red in Bulgaria. I didn't know, Bulgaria, former Soviet satellite state, had a very vibrant production entity in Bulgaria. A lot of great people, knew how to make movies. They've got multiple studios there, New Boyana, UFO, and it was a great place to go. And I wouldn't have known that. So I think that ultimately it can only benefit. There's many benefits that they will have in addition to helping the local economy, but they'll get the word out about this and maybe things will change. Especially because Morocco, I didn't know this either, but when we made Tango Shalom, I didn't know there was a Islamic comedy film festival in Rabat, Morocco. Who would have thought? They're film friendly there. And who knows, maybe Hollywood will do some good here.
Yeah, again, like any money going into the area, though, I'm pretty sure the Moroccans are probably just taking it. But like, this is the one. Well,
you still have to pay people.
Yeah, this is the one comment that came in here from the article that I thought was pretty interesting. It wrote this: Morocco routinely touts soirée, again, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that word, cultural expressions as uniquely Moroccan. They created a film festival in Dakhla to counter ours and produce high-quality, high-budget films that portray Western Sahara as a part of Morocco, something, again, that the UN does not recognize. However, Swahiris trying to make films about their lives are persecuted and must work clandestinely and at great risk to themselves and their families. So again, this is something as somebody who lives very comfortably in North America.
Yes.
This is something and doesn't pop on my local news or whatever, or any of the trades that I've read. This is all news to me. Yeah. And I got a feeling at some point Christopher Nolan's probably feeling the same way. It's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? I guess there's two questions here. What do you think should be done? And what do you think will ultimately happen? I haven't formulated an opinion yet. I don't know enough about this to have an opinion about what should be done. What I think will happen, I think they're going to finish the shoot and then Christopher Nolan will probably make some pretty strong statements or something. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about all this, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, I'm fairly certain that it is safe to say that James Cameron's Avatar is going to be the #1 box office film of the year. I don't feel much hesitation in saying, I don't know that it's going to be a $2 billion film, but I think it's pretty safe to say it's going to be the #1 box office film of the year.
100%.
And when Avatar 4 comes out, it's going to be the biggest box office film of that year, and so on and so forth. Well, apparently Jimmy C, as Rob affectionately calls him, the good Canadian kid
That
James
you never
Cameron,
bet against.
Never bet against him. He's now looking at expanding his Na'vi empire. Because live action, mixture of live action and CGI, is not enough. Because according to a report in Variety, James Cameron has spoken to Disney about expanding Avatar into animation, saying there might be an animated feature for streaming or theatrical. Writes this: James Cameron revealed to Empire magazine that he has spoken to Disney about expanding his blockbuster Avatar franchise into animation. I said, look, I want to do an animated anthology series that's essentially in the world, but stories that you wouldn't have expected from that world, the Oscar winner said. There might even be an animated feature in there. It might be a feature for streaming or a theatrical feature. Cameron said his plan is similar to that of the Animatrix, if you guys remember that. The acclaimed 2003 animated anthology series that told various backstories to the Matrix film trilogy. He called that project a great example for how we can add texture and Baroque detail to the world of Avatar. Okay. There's two different angles you got to talk about this from. Let's talk about it from the benefits. Animatrix, I'm going to admit, I'm not a big fan of Animatrix. Although it did do a nice job of adding more texture to the world of the Matrix. I didn't feel like we needed the origin background story of the machines. I figured we all basically got it, but still, it was good. People enjoyed it, and it gave more texture to the world. About 70% of Avatar is animated anyway. Now, when he says animation, I don't think it's going to be full photorealistic CGI animation like this. I think they're talking about a little more, it looks more like an animated thing. And listen, more stories from the world of Avatar could be a really good and a great thing. But then there's the other angle you got to look at this from. I think Jimmy C's mouth is writing checks his body can't cash. He's talking about doing that Ghosts of Hiroshima thing. He's talking about doing like 18 more Avatar live action movies.
And like that Devil's book that he purchased.
Yeah, that one. He's remember about a year ago, he's also talked about maybe wanting to revisit the Terminator franchise. He's talked about this and he's talked about that. And he talks about a lot of things, but we don't have our next Avatar movie coming out till what? 2027, 2028?
And they'll delay that a year.
Yeah, and that'll probably... So I think the next one's not even planned to come out till like 2028. So Sorry, not Ghost of Hiroshima. It's the Ghost of Tsushima. And
No, it is.
no, I was right. I got it right.
it
the
is.
first time. I got it right.
Ghost
The
of
first time.
Tsushima is
Is
different.
the video game. That's a
That's
totally
a different thing.
When is he gonna do this? At best, Rob, this turns into what was the Battle Angel Alita? This is going to turn into another Alita badge. At best, this will turn into another Alita Battle Angel. Something that he talks about for years that he's going to do, and then he hands it off to somebody else. And not that I think Robert Rodriguez did a bad job with Alita Battle Angel, but it wasn't a James Cameron film. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that is the best case scenario. So it's cool to talk about it. Would I mind them doing it? Not at all. I'd be curious to see it if James Cameron's doing it. But James Cameron doesn't have time to do it. And I don't believe for a second he's going to do it. He'll produce, but he won't actually have anything to do with it. So I don't know, Rob, you hear about these big plans from Jimmy C. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, look, I believe Avatar is still overseen by the quiet king of franchises, Steve Asbell, the president of 20th Century Studios. And I got to say, their Predator animated movie was dope. I mean, Predator Killer or Killers, where they actually took those 3 vignettes and put them together.
Yeah, very cool.
I want to see the Predator in samurai times.
Well,
Here you
we got
go.
to see that, and they did a great job. And Dan Trachtenberg directed that. You know, he's also got, and we get within a few months, Predator Badlands, the live action,
And he did
basically
Prey.
combining the Weyland-Yutani alien universe, further integrating into the Predator verse. And I think if he wanted to say oversee something like that, because remember, Avatar Fire and Ash was basically postponed a year just because they had to render the damn thing, rendering it. So during that, while the computers are clattering away, rendering the 4K 3D versions of high frame rate Avatar, he can go make another movie. So look, while I agree with you, he's probably too busy. But if he oversaw the production while he's waiting for his shots to render, doing an animated film the same way they did, even in the style, I really liked the way Killer of Killers looked. I mean, it wasn't the lush animation style you get from Pixar, or it wasn't even the lush 2D animation you get from something like Zootopia, but it was really effective for what it was. And I would have seen that. I would have gone to see that in a theater. That's how much I like Killer of Killers. So I could see him doing it. Now, is he going to do all these other movies like Ghosts of Hiroshima? I don't know. But John, never bet against Jimmy C.
But here's the thing. I never bet against his success,
Right.
but his history has shown
It's true.
you can bet against him doing everything he says he's going
He
to
didn't
do.
make Spider-Man. He ended up farming out Alita Battle Angel. But you know what? I think that James Cameron, I would love to see him make another film that is unrelated to Avatar.
Oh, I do too, but he's literally got, because that's the thing, you're talking about the rendering of the one. He still has 2 other Avatar
I know.
films he's got to immediately get into. He says he's going to do this Terminator thing. He's got this devil thing he wants to do. He's got, okay, that's great, Jimmy. When are you going to do it? You don't have time.
Yeah.
And he's in his, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's in his 70s now.
Yeah, but he looks
Jonathan, can you
good,
look that
man.
up
He's a
for me?
vegan now.
Sure.
Oh no, he looks
He's
great.
going to live forever.
And he's prolific. I'm just saying, if he's going to be squatting out one film every 4 years, I don't know that he's got time to do all these things.
You know,
he'll
didn't he
70
make, like-
on the dot.
He
He's
made
70
like
on the dot, okay.
He made like T2 in like 9 months, soup to nuts. Like that's why it was so expensive. I want to see that. I want to see another 9-monther from Jimmy C. I think the world demands that Jimmy C give us more work.
Yep. But we got Avatar 4 coming after this Avatar.
It's true.
And then we've got Avatar 5 he's got to do on top of
And
that.
I don't think he shot the live action components for these.
No, he is not. Not yet.
Because he did 1, 2, and 3 basically. He didn't finish all of 3, but he's got to go back and shoot all that live action, and then they've got to render. And look, I don't care. All I know is that we're getting the Mordor Na'vi who have forsaken Iowa. Your God has no dominion here. Hey, man, I can't wait. Bring it on.
I'm very much looking forward to this.
I can't wait.
I still tell you what, listen, I feel bad for everybody who's watched the trailer on their computer.
Oh my
Because
God.
we got to see the trailer back in April on this massive Caesar's Palace.
Well, and much more footage too.
Oh yeah,
on,
with more footage in it as well.
in
but
high
it was-
frame rate
woo,
3D.
and it was so good.
Yeah, they showed it in front of Fantastic Four when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think it was a great trailer because, I mean, it showed a lot of stuff, but I think there's a lot of story. It was just,
But again, it's a
was a
first
teaser,
trailer.
yeah.
It's a first trailer.
but
so,
that last line, watching my Mordor Na'vi,
oh yeah.
you have has no dominion here. I'm like, yo, yeah, bring it on.
All
That's
right,
what I'm
guys.
talking about.
Question is for you. What do you think about this? James Cameron is saying that he wants to do animated Avatar now because free time. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I just don't think it's actually going to happen. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, it is now known, public knowledge, 5-6 years after announcing that Marvel was getting X-Men back, we've got a director, Jake Schreier, the guy who masterfully directed Thunderbolts. Did such a great job on that. By the way, did a really good job with his directing parts in Skeleton Crew as well. I thought that was really good what he did there. He's the director of the new X-Men film. They're already hard at work planning, and he's already talking about it a little bit. And while on the surface what he says seems pretty innocuous, it gets me thinking a lot about where they might be going. This article comes to us from Deadline. All right, Jake Schreier teases X-Men reboot. It's just inherently interesting and complex material. Jake Schreier is set to direct X-Men the reboot, and in a new interview teased the film in the works. Marvel boss Kevin Feige confirmed that Schreier would helm the film, and although the filmmaker can't give too many details on the movie, he did discuss the comic book superheroes. He said, "Without going into too much, really almost any detail," he told the playlist, "what I can say is it's just inherently interesting and complex material." Schreier noted that the core idea of what X-Men is involves complexity, adding, "It's an incredible opportunity with super interesting characters and much internal conflict. These characters are wrestling with their identity and place in the world, and that's inherently interesting and complex material." All right. Couple of things that I did pull out of that, which is the core idea about the story of X-Men is the mutants are inherently at war with each other while all trying to figure out their place in the world. You have, of course, as Stan Lee put it, you have your Malcolm X and Martin Luther King figureheads with Charles Xavier and Magneto, who they're opposing polar opposite points of view of how mutants fit into the world. One is coexisting and living alongside. The other is kill or be killed, where we either dominate them or they're going to oppress us. Meanwhile, the X-Men, trying to fight that philosophy, are having to fight with the fact that Magneto is partially right because humanity is constantly trying to crap on them
Yes.
in many different ways. Of course, the analogies are full in there. It was masterfully done comic. It's a great told story. So it sounds like, Rob, that core essential element of at war with the world while at war with each other and trying to figure out their place and how they fit into the world. I think that's got to be a key thing. That's got to be almost like your prime directive, if you will, when it comes to storytelling.
Yeah, 100%.
That 100% needs to be there. In hearing his words of talking about the complexity of the characters, finding their place in the world, the internal conflict, stuff like that, where do you see them going with this first X-Men film? I mean, obviously it's a Fantastic Four situation. The mutants and the X-Men don't exist in the sacred timeline, in the sacred universe, or whatever of the dozen versions of multiverse Marvel's been talking about. Hearing these words now, to give it a little bit more context, how do you see this going?
Well, I'm fascinated by this whole idea. You know, the X-Men to me are the comic book equivalent of Star Trek for me in terms of what I love. I love the X-Men. And what I find interesting is if they follow what happened at the end of Hickman's Secret Wars, and they do go to Battle World in Avengers Secret Wars, and then the world is remade at the end of that. The timelines are collapsed. You now have an opportunity where you could literally kind of do what they did with the Fox X-Men universe. You know, they went back all the way to the early 60s for X-Men First Class. You could do a version of that where the X-Men are introduced, Xavier's school, whatever. You could introduce them in the 60s, you could introduce them in the 70s. The 70s in this new version of the MCU, all of the characters don't have to exist at the same time as the Avengers that we know. So you could retell, you could actually use the X-Men as a vehicle to restart the MCU from a whole different perspective, which makes everything old new again. Where you could do 3 or 4 X-Men movies before Captain America is even unfrozen, you know, and then you that way you could bring back Xavier and Magneto, and you could show their conflict in the 60s and 70s and have Magneto still be a refugee from, or a former, he could have come from a concentration camp. You could have had an Xavier that's younger. And then you've got, there's such a huge pantheon of X-Men characters that they can come and go. You know, younger X-Men would lead in, become the New Mutants, and you could build this whole, and Cyclops could age. So you could do 50 years of mutant history through all of these mutant movies. Like, you could end up doing 6 X-Men movies and introduce all, like Wolverine could start back in the 1800s. You know, you could do all these things. It opens up, what it does is it reboots the Marvel Universe and make it mutant-centric. And then you lead up. You can have all these new characters you've never seen before, all these X-Men we've never seen depicted on screen, both the Hellfire Club. Go back to the 1800s with the Hellfire Club. There's so much you could do, and lead all the way into the modern Avengers. So they would come way after the X-Men. And I think that the possibilities, depending on what they want to do, are endless. Because I really like, for all the guff that X-Men Origins Wolverine gets, the first half an hour where you see his history living through the many wars that he's lived through with his brother and Sabretooth.
Oh, I'll go more than the first half hour. I thought the first half of the movie overall, I thought was pretty good.
Pretty cool.
And it kind of lost its way a bit.
Yeah, but I think that opening, I mean, and then between that history and what they did in First Class and doing, I mean, I hope they do a Hellfire movie. The Hellfire Club. Who wouldn't go see that? You know, and you've got the whole...
I think the better question is, who would go see that?
Dude, it'd be dope.
It's a narrow demographic. For you say a Hellfire Club movie, it's about 3% of the movie-going population that will even have any idea of what we're talking about.
Right, but I mean, you have to build into all that.
Sure,
you have to explain.
Yes.
Although I think you get a lot of people to go see the Hellfire Gala movie. But I don't think that should be a movie. That should be an event that takes place.
No, it should be a YouTube video. Or, you know,
well, what happened at the end of the Hickman era of X-Men at the Hellfire, that was one of the great modern comics I've read. The destruction of the X-Men at the end of the Hickman Krakoan era was awesome. Orcus, they did their job.
And that's what led into the trial of Cyclops, of Scott Summers, right?
Well, not the new one, the one that just happened.
Right.
Oh,
yeah,
did
but
it?
didn't that then lead
It
into
might
the
have.
trial of
I
Scott
quit
Summers?
after
And
I
then
quit
yeah.
after that new reboot of the X-Men. I'm out.
It's a lot of different ways they can go. I mean, listen, and this, of course, a lot of people who are familiar with the comics salivate at the idea of a Avengers versus X-Men thing. I don't think we're getting that in Doomsday or in Secret Wars. I don't think that part, and they could, like what we've seen with all the Marvel iterations so far is that they've taken, when they've done a movie, they've taken story ideas and plot lines from multiple comic storylines and brought them into one thing. So they could do Doomsday and Secret Wars and implement, you know, pieces of fabric of the X-Men versus Avengers storyline. Or it could be something that they build up to a little bit later on.
I think, look, I will pay double if there's a scene in Doomsday where the X-Men fight the Avengers. Because the Avengers don't know who the X-Men are, and the X-Men don't know who the Avengers are because they're on different Earths.
Right.
I'm telling you. Even
but that's
like,
a scene. I'm talking about like a
yeah,
movie.
But it's going to be, I want to see an extended, knocked out, look, the beginning of Days of Future Past.
So basically you want like a Civil War airport scene, but with X-Men and Avengers.
Dude, I would give up a year of my life to see that executed properly. I mean, especially because we still get, but you know what? Hugh Jackman's got to come back. They haven't announced he's coming back, but they gotta have him come back. You've got to bring back the pantheon of all the Fox X-Men, as many as you can, and have, because we've seen those set photos of Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters wiped out. I want it. Give it to me.
Yeah,
I want it back.
I still don't think Hugh Jackman's coming back. I still don't think he is. I mean, I don't know that he isn't. I'm not. He very well could. I'm just saying, if I had to bet $5, I'm still betting that he's not coming
Because
back.
that opening scene in Days of Future Past where you saw the Sentinels.
And when he walks out of the Blackbird lands and Storm comes out and Wolverine comes walking down, like that was so
And I
great.
want Xavier in his floating yellow chair. I don't want him in a wheelchair. I want him in the floating.
You want him like he was in Doctor Strange.
But I
too.
want to see that chair. I want it to be the Aston Martin DB5 of Xavier's chairs. I want to see him wreck shop in that thing, flying around. I can't wait. I want to see a fastball special. I can't wait, dude. I'm so excited. Probably isn't going to happen.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. The director of X-Men now given some insight about his whole philosophy when it comes to it. Does that color for you or fill in any of the gaps for you about your theories about where they might go with X-Men? What are you hoping to see? Anyway, whatever you guys think about all that, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got a number of other things to talk about, including the director of Prey and Predator, Killer of Killers, and the upcoming Predator Badlands. He's saying he's bringing back Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that's something. Superman has helped Fantastic Four succeed where Thunderbolts and Captain America 4 has failed. And according to a new report that's out there, whether it's true or not, is suggesting that Spider-Man 4, Spider-Man Brand New Day, is going to take place 1 year before the events of Avengers Doomsday. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, there's a bunch of other stuff going on in the world of movie and entertainment news that we don't have time to talk about at length. So we've put it together in a little segment here we call the news feed. Check it out. First up, the fourth installment of the Meet the Parents comedy franchise is for some reason officially titled Focker-in-Law and is slated to release on November 25th, 2026. Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro, Blythe Danner, Terry Polo, and Owen Wilson are all set to reprise their roles, with Ariana Grande and Skylar Gisondo joining the cast. John Hamburg, the guy who wrote the previous films, is expected to direct this one. The plot is expected to revolve around Greg Focker, Ben Stiller, now being in a similar situation to Robert De Niro's character, as Greg's son Gisondo gets engaged to a woman, Ariana Grande, of whom Greg disapproves. Listen, I love Ben Stiller, I love Robert De Niro, and I love the first Fockers movie, but I don't know why they're making this one, to be honest. I don't think anybody's going to go see it. Next up, Jamie Lee Curtis has revealed that she has been quote-unquote self-retiring for the past 30 years, a decision largely influenced by witnessing her famous parents, Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis, face rejection and a decline in their careers as they aged in Hollywood. The 66-year-old actress and Oscar winner, by the way, known for roles in films like Everything Everywhere All at Once, stated her desire to proactively exit the industry on her own terms rather than waiting for it to no longer want her. Now, despite this long-term strategy for a graceful exit, Curtis remains very active in her career with upcoming projects including the highly anticipated sequel Freakier Friday, I won't be seeing it myself, and of course, Murder, She Wrote, a reboot film that we talked about the other day. Listen, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. She is the person I will always think of for being Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife in True Lies. Next up, Cary Fukunaga is directing Blood on Snow, an upcoming crime thriller based on the Joe Nesbo's novel of the same name, with Nesbo co-writing the screenplay alongside Ben Power. And the actors list joining this film is actually pretty impressive. Benedict Cumberbatch has joined the cast, taking over a role initially set for Tom Hardy due to scheduling conflicts he had to leave, and is expected to portray a rival mob boss known as the Fisherman. Pilu Asbeck, who has also been cast, you might remember him from Game of Thrones where he played Aeron Greyjoy. Anyway, he's joining Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays Olav, a hitman who falls for his target, his mob boss's wife, sparking a violent gang war. Other confirmed cast members include Eva Green, Emma Laird, and Ben Mendelsohn, with production having commenced in Latvia at the end of February 2025. This sounds great to me. I can't wait for this. The cast is fantastic, and I think this is going to be a good one. Everybody's been wondering, what are the names going to be of the two companies that come out of the splitting of Warner Brothers Discovery? Well, now we know, and the names are very creative. You see, in June of 2025, Warner Brothers Discovery confirmed it will split into two independently, publicly traded companies by mid-2026. And one will be named Warner Brothers, that will have streaming and studio operations, including Warner Brothers Television, Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, DC Studios, HBO, HBO Max, etc., led by current CEO David Zaslav. And the other company is going to be creatively called Discovery Global, comprising of linear cable networks such as CNN, TNT, TBS, Cartoon Network, Discovery Channel, Discovery Plus, and sports brands like Eurosport and US TNT Sports, along with international free-to-air channels and the Bleacher Report. This one is going to be headed by the current CFO of Warner Brothers Discovery, Gunnar Weidenfels. Listen, I was one of the guys that was all for the idea of merging in HBO Max and Discovery and all that stuff. I watch a lot of stuff on Discovery. I thought it would be a good idea to have it all under one roof, but as it turns out, that strategy didn't work, and at this point, they need to split the company up. Next up, bad news for those of you hoping to get a Fantastic Four director's cut at some point. Director Matt Shakman has confirmed that releasing a director's cut of Fantastic Four First Steps is simply not possible, primarily due to the large number of unfinished visual effects scenes, especially those involving John Malkovich's Red Ghost, which were never completed in post-production. Malkovich's character, Ivan Kragoff, also known as Red Ghost, was initially filmed as part of a retro-futuristic cold open featuring his super apes, but that was cut for time in favor of focusing on the main characters, major villains, and the 1960s Earth 828 setting. Shakman described the decision as heartbreaking, praising Malkovich's performance and noting their prior collaboration together, but explained that the film's densely packed narrative simply couldn't accommodate the full sequence. And finally, Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin says Andor was the best TV show of the year. He recently shared his top television and film picks with a particular emphasis on the Star Wars series Andor, which he lauded as this year's highlight. He particularly mentioned the stunning visuals, Diego Luna's portrayal, and the authentic tension. He also mentioned his approval for James Gunn's new Superman movie, specifically noting the strong casting of Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and resonated with the portrayal of Superman as an immigrant. I appreciate him mentioning Andor because it's one of my favorite shows of the year. I'm still really torn about whether I think Andor or maybe The Pit might be the best show of the year. Either way, it was great. And that'll do it for today's news feed. And that's our movie news feed for the day, guys. If you have any thoughts about any of those issues and topics that we didn't have time to talk about at length, drop them on down in the comments section below. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, we were talking a little bit earlier in the show about Prey, Predator, Killer of Killers, and we've got the upcoming new Predator film. What's it called again? Badlands?
Badlands
Is coming out. Well, now the director is saying that he wants to bring back Arnold Schwarzenegger. This comes to us from Deadline. Predator Badlands director plans to cook up stuff for Arnold Schwarzenegger's franchise return after meeting at San Diego Comic-Con. Anyway, following the animated return of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch to the Predator franchise, the actor could soon reprise the role in a live-action capacity. During Friday's Predator Badlands panel at Comic-Con, director Dan Trachtenberg teased the Hall H audience that he's planning to quote-unquote cook up stuff for that guy after a recent breakfast meeting with the Golden Globe-winning actor and former governor of California. Schwarzenegger starred in the original John McTiernan-helmed Predator in 1987 as Major Alan Dutch Schaefer, who encounters the titular extraterrestrial with his paramilitary team, ain't got time to bleed, during a rescue mission in a Central American rainforest. All right. I ended up loving Predator, Killer of Killers, which I was surprised by because that Terminator animated film came out a while ago and everybody said, oh, this is going to be so awesome. And I didn't actually think it was all that good. So I had my doubts about Killer of Killers, but I ended up really liking it a lot. And one of the big holy crap moments is at the end when they're doing their great Raiders of the Lost Ark top men sequence going through, and then they zoom and you see Amber Mid-Thunder, but they also gave us a glimpse of a couple of other things that were added on top of there as well. All right. He's talking about bringing back Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have loved this dude since I was a kid. I still love the way he conducts himself. I love the way, like, all that kind of stuff. By the way, have you ever seen those videos of Anatoly on YouTube? The guy who dresses up like a cleaning guy in the gym.
Oh yeah,
And he's got a relatively small body frame, but he's a world champion powerlifter.
Yeah.
Did you see that Arnold did a video with him?
Yes.
I thought that was great because I watch Anatoly, so seeing Arnold talking to him. By the way, if you guys have not seen Anatoly's videos, they're awesome. I just love them. I don't know why. They're all the same, but they're great nonetheless. I love watching them. Anyway, as a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, I can say this is a mistake. It's a mistake.
Why you gotta harsh my mellow?
I'm sorry, but it's a mistake. They already tried this formula over and over and over again with the Terminator franchise. It's like, you know what we should do with this new Terminator? Let me try that again. You know what we should do with this new Terminator movie? Bring back Arnold Schwarzenegger. Bring back Arnold Schwarzenegger. Again. But this time it's sure to work, and it never does. And again, that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger's fault at all. I'm just saying this whole nostalgia porn idea of go back and get the guy who did it originally, I don't think that really works. And listen, a lot of people, including me for many years, rightfully said that the Predator franchise was dead. And we were right, because it was. Dan Trachtenberg has come along and resurrected it. Don't now make the mistake of killing this new thing you have going by suddenly trying to make it old again. And I just, now, there's a way to do it, Rob. I think there's a way to do it. You now have, General Dutch walks into the room and gives some, I've had some experience with this. That was a terrible Arnold Schwarzenegger, by the way. But, maybe there's a way you keep him as a secondary, an auxiliary kind of character off to the side. I just think if they think they're going to now, it's Dutch and Amber Midthunder teaming up now to take down. I think that would be a mistake.
Come on, 1980s high five freeze frame.
You've got the touch.
Wait a minute. Wait.
What do you think about this?
Look, I agree with you. It's all in the execution. But I would say this. Trachtenberg's been doing something really interesting, and Badlands is doing something really interesting too. They're basically doing an Alien versus Predator universe that isn't stupid.
Right.
The way so what you now have is, let's assume, we have to assume that Predator 1 and Predator 2, Killer of Killers, Prey, they now have a whole Predator history that is canonical. So if you were to say that the Predator happened in the canonical universe in 87, and now Schwarzenegger's in his early 70s, he could have started a task force. And he's a leader. He's like Kurt Russell in the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
secondary.
And now he's like, but he's the leader. Like,
I thought you were going to say Monarch.
Or Monarch.
Oh, yeah, like a head of Monarch sort
so
of
he's
thing.
the head of Monarch, and now you've also got, like, as a matter of fact, he could even be in contact with the Predator homeworld by now. Because, they could have figured out, because Wayland Yutani is involved. We know in Badlands there's a Wayland Yutani robot. Because you find out, like, my whole thing is at the end of, look, Alien versus Predator Requiem is not a great movie. But you see the Predator homeworld, and you see the one guy have to, like, pick up the problems. It's like, ding, 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 problem on Earth. And this poor workaday Predator has to, like, go clean up this mess on Earth. And it would be interesting if there's, like, the humans. Imagine Schwarzenegger putting together a task force, like, of badasses that has to work together with a task force of predators, like a human predator multidisciplinary task force that has to go kick ass, not necessarily against aliens, but against somebody else, and the predators have come to respect, like, Earth would be, they could even be like, Earth's like, we don't hunt on Earth anymore. Because we respect you guys. We fought Earthlings throughout history. We're not going to fight with you anymore. But you know what? We realize that you people, because you've got Robert Rodriguez's Predators movie, you people are some of the fiercest fighters in the universe. And rather than kill each other, we need your help. How badass would that be?
To fight Terminators.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Fight aliens.
I mean, you've got predators and humans teaming up. And maybe throw in a synthetic. I mean, we got whatever's going to happen in Alien Earth. You could do some epic like World War II-esque men and predators on a mission movie, like the Dirty Dozen, but the Dirty Dozen are made up of creatures from two worlds, and Schwarzenegger's their general. I'd watch the hell out of that shit. Cold Fox.
I think I see Arnold. I see opposite of that. I see Arnold being the number one authority on how to beat these bastards or whatever. And listen, say what you want about Alien versus Predator Requiem. You know what that movie is? That movie is a bunch of movie nerds sitting around one night drinking and eating chips and coming up with what an Alien versus Predator movie could be.
Yeah.
That's Alien. There is some fun stuff. Like if you watch that movie with the right frame of mind, it can be a fun night. Because it's so ridiculous.
Look, if they do Alien versus Predator again, please go back to the Dark Horse miniseries. That very first miniseries was great. There's your perfect movie to adapt. And Trachtenberg's the kind of guy that would know that.
Here's a good question for you. So we've got the Weyland-Yutani droid in this upcoming Predator Badlands movie. Do you think we could get some Predator references in the upcoming Aliens Earth series?
Well, I think there must be,
to kind of pepper it a little bit
maybe
more?
Because look, in that the premise of that show is there was a ship that was collecting not just xenomorph specimens, but specimens of all different kinds of really, really terrifying alien life. Apparently, I haven't seen it. To weaponize it, to bring it back. And what can we do with this terrifying alien life form? Oh, I don't know. Let's bring it to Earth. That'll work out real well for all of us. Yeah, what could go wrong? But I like that idea. I like that premise. So I can imagine there would be, and I really like the fact that Trachtenberg with Badlands just like, nope, Weyland-Yutani, it's all one universe, which I think is great.
I'm excited for that show, by the way.
It looks,
Alien
the more
Earth,
I see it looks
so
great.
good.
It looks great. They showed the first episode at Comic-Con, and people said it's a very intriguing beginning.
All right,
and it is Noah Hawley, who's a great creator. So I'm stoked, dude.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? The director of, Prey and Predator, Killer of Killers, is saying he's going to bring back Arnold. If it's done in the right way, sparingly, in a small role, I'm okay with that. Trying to bring back Dutch, though, and trying to make Predator what it was, I think is a mistake with all the progress they've made. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Maybe you completely disagree with me. Maybe you've got another theory altogether. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Fantastic Four is out, and whereas Thunderbolts opened with 70-something million and Captain America 4 opened with 80-something million, Fantastic Four was able to blow the doors off those numbers by coming out with a $117, $118 million opening weekend, which is much relief for them. And the folks over at Variety wrote an interesting article that they simply titled The 4 Reasons Why Fantastic Four Ended Marvel's Box Office Slump. Now, again, you don't have to go too far back since they had a major, major hit with the $1 billion+ Deadpool and Wolverine. But this year, it's been a little bit of a struggle. Thunderbolts, which is a great movie, but didn't blow up the box office by any stretch of the imagination. Captain America 4, which was not a very good movie, and it also didn't do all that great. You now have this. So why was Fantastic Four able to have such a relatively successful opening weekend compared to the previous Marvel films that opened up this year? I wanted to go over the stuff that they suggested, and we'll give our own thoughts on this as well. The first reason that Variety gives is, this sounds familiar, audiences are tired of bad movies, not superhero movies. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
James Gunn.
Yeah, James Gunn coined that.
Yeah, I remember in an interview he was like, well, fatigue, something.
True.
Yeah.
So they, in this section of their article, that they headline, audiences are tired of bad movies, not superhero movies, is the fact that, listen, Thunderbolts, they say, was really good, but nobody knew those characters, and those who did know them knew them simply as little supporting characters in some Disney Plus shows. But Captain America was not very good, and people didn't like it. And so that hurts. But, they said, Superman was just out. And the audience loved Superman. And that was exactly what you and I have been saying, Rob, is that the number one benefactor of if Superman is good will be Fantastic Four. Oh. And they're pointing out that, hey, they're hearing great stuff about Fantastic Four. Last I checked, it still had a 92% audience rating.
High tide raises all
86, 87, 88 critic score right around there. So that motivates them, but also the fact that, like we've been saying for a while, people saw Superman, they loved it. Another big comic book movie's coming out. Great, let's go see that. And so all that together is like, hey, you put out good product, you're going to get better results. And so that was the first thing they kind of mentioned. The second thing they mentioned, I think, is a key one. No homework required. I think this is key. One of the things they did very effectively with the whole Fantastic Four marketing campaign, I don't think they did a great job with the trailers, but one of the things that the trailers did do very effectively was that it clearly communicated to even average moviegoers, this is all new. This is not the regular MC world. You don't need to know anything to come in and see this. You never once felt, because, that was one of my criticisms of the Marvels. The marketing campaign for the Marvels, you're sitting there watching, it's like, all right, this trailer makes me feel like I'm supposed to know who that is. And this trailer makes me feel like I'm supposed to know. I mean, I know that girl, but I don't know any of this stuff. Oh, they're TV shows? Well, I never watched those shows, and these trailers make it feel like I'm supposed to know them. The Fantastic Four trailers completely hit the target on making it feel like, hey, you don't need to know anything. This is a totally different world. This is an imaginary 1960s sort of world. We're all starting from page one. You're not behind if you come in and watch this movie. And they did a great job with that. And Kevin Feige himself has said that they realize they need to course correct a little bit about making sure when they make a movie that you don't have to give the audience homework to do in order to come in. I've always said, Rob, besides quality, the number one reason that the MCU was so successful for the first 10, 15 years is that no matter how interconnected it got, Kevin Feige always made sure to find a way that every new movie was a valid entry point for a new fan. Haven't watched any MCU yet, and we got Ant-Man coming out? No problem. Ant-Man is a totally valid entry point. Haven't watched any MCU yet, and you want to see Winter Soldier? No problem. Winter Soldier is a valid entry point. And they've kind of lost their way on that a little bit over the years. So he's trying to get back to that. So their second point is no homework required. The third one they did, not famous, but familiar. You don't have to be a comic book reader to know the name Fantastic Four. You don't need to. Unlike Thunderbolts, you all know Fantastic Four. You may not know that Sue and Johnny are brother and sister. You may not know that Reed and Sue go on to have an all-powerful space god child, but you know Fantastic Four, right? And that worked in their favor a little bit, whereas that worked against something like Thunderbolts. And also, and very true, to a degree, not a drop of competition. I mean, it's got Naked Gun opening up this week, which I cannot wait to watch. Everybody I've seen and everybody I've talked to who's seen it is saying all the exact same thing. They're saying it's absolutely hilarious.
I messaged you guys this morning. I tried to get tickets for Thursday. Everything was basically like just the terrible seats. I tried to get it for
You're
Friday.
Not the only person.
That's good though.
I got Scott. Scott messaged me today and said the exact same thing. I just try to get tickets for Naked Gun and I can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So it may be a little bit more competition than they think, but Superman was already 2 weeks earlier. So
Sure.
Superman was already in its third weekend when it came out, and it doesn't have like what you call tentpole competition coming out, and that will help it as well. And that will work along. So when you look at these things, again, no real big stiff competition laying in front of it, not famous, but familiar, no homework required. And the fact that the audience there's no such thing as superhero movie fatigue. There's mediocre movie fatigue. That's what Variety is attributing being able to go from a 70 plus million opening and an 80 plus million opening to all of a sudden near a $120 million opening. Rob, which of Variety's things resonate with you well? And maybe what else would you add to that as to the reason why Fantastic Four is able to perform so much better than the previous two Marvel films we had come out?
Well, I think a lot of it, I don't know if one resonates with me more than the other, but I think the fact that it's a self-contained movie, that like the idea that you don't have to do homework is probably a good one. And in the sense that, look, the film is appealing because like Superman, it's a family film. You know, it really is, because at its core, I mean, it's silly for me to say this because I'm the first person to want sex and violence in my movies, but I also like the fact that this is a wholesome 4-quadrant, rousing entertainment for families. And parents, I mean, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like, I don't think parents are really excited to take their kids to see Thunderbolts, for instance.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I don't, what you need is parents of enjoying taking their kids to see Superman. And this is another thing. You've got, it's set in this sort of bucolic, retro future world where everybody's nice to each other, and it's a wholesome place to be, you know, and you've got a funny robot that makes pasta with Ben Grimm the Thing, and it's very accessible to everybody. And I think it delivers, well, I didn't think it was the greatest movie in the world. It leaves you with a smile on your face. It delivers the goods. And as you said, John, entry point. If you've never seen a Marvel movie before and you saw this was your first Marvel movie, I think it would make you, and remember, every Marvel movie is somebody's first.
Yeah.
Everyone that comes out. Just like every James Bond movie is someone's first, every Star Trek series, despite my better judgment, is somebody's first Star Trek series. And you have to assume that this is the first time someone's seeing this, and that could be a grandmother, or it could be a middle-aged dude, or it could be a small child. And if they find it fun, and I think this delivers the goods, you walk out of that movie and you feel satisfied. And that's what this movie has done. I would attribute it to the marketing was great, the build-up to it was great, word of mouth is great, but ultimately the movie itself delivers. And it doesn't leave you with questions. It built it up that anybody can go see this movie, even though it's wild that they were talking about fighting headwinds. You're fighting 3 previous Fantastic Four films that were, I mean, it's not like
Subpar.
Yeah, it's not like Tim's stories were hated, but they were not as great as maybe you wanted them to be. But I think this movie does what a good movie does, which is deliver a great 2 hours of entertainment for everybody.
And that people will go back and watch again.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I'll even say this, the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, which it got mutated into something that wasn't even his movie. I'll even say this. I remember me and Harloff, we went to, I've told this story before, but we went to the Fox lot, to their theater on the Fox lot to watch this advanced screen. We all heard it was terrible. We all heard it was absolutely terrible. And we were all expecting a train wreck. And so me and Harloff were sitting together, and we both expected it to be just awful. And about a half hour into the movie, like, I'd say even a little bit more than that, like the first act, I remember at one point, me and Christian turned to each other and like, what's going on? This is actually pretty good. This is actually not bad. This is a nice start to the, and then it went way down. Then it totally fell apart.
Crash and burn, Mav.
Yeah. But you know, the first act was pretty good. I think you're really onto that too. Like the word of mouth getting out about this was, and I love your comparison of Thunderbolts is not something the family's going to run out to see.
Right.
Fantastic Four is.
Yes.
And they made it clear Fantastic Four is. And then it's the quality of the movie's got to take over and get people to want to go back. Anne's already talking about going to our 4th and 5th screenings of it. I mean, it's just that sort of a film.
The movie just puts a smile on your face from the opening Marvel logo, you know, the retro 60s Cinerama-esque logo, and all the way through, it's a delight.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Variety put out an interesting article kind of touching on, well, why was Fantastic Four able to do this when like Thunderbolts and Captain America were only able to do that? Do you have other reasons you think that it's doing better, significantly better than those films did right now? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Lest you forget, as it turns out, it looks like the next MCU movie isn't coming for another year. We got a long wait to the next MCU movie, and it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man, brand new day. Now, if you guys will remember, with the original scheduling, Spider-Man Brand New Day was supposed to come out after Avengers Doomsday. Then Disney and Marvel announced that they moved Avengers Doomsday, like 6 months, whatever, to the end of 2026. A lot of us started wondering, well, does that mean they're going to move Spider-Man 2? Apparently, Sony didn't think they needed to. They're leaving it right where it is. So it's got a lot of us talking and asking amongst fan groups and everybody online, but well, when does Spider-Man take place in relation to everything else going on? And well, the folks over at Total Film think they have the answer. And their reasoning is pretty sound. We're going to go through it a little bit at length here, but basically, they're saying that Spider-Man Brand New Day will take place roughly 1 year before the events of Avengers Doomsday. The headline reads, Spider-Man Brand New Day set photos seem to confirm that the Marvel movie will be set over a year before Avengers Doomsday. Now, let's go through their rationale, and you decide if you agree with them. I think the rationale seems pretty good. All right, it says this. The plot of Spider-Man Brand New Day is shaping up with the addition of John Bernthal's Punisher to the cast and news of its more street-level settings. By the way, there's also still those rumors, and you still got to qualify them as rumors at this point, because I don't think Mark Ruffalo himself has confirmed it, that Ruffalo's Hulk may end up being in this film too. We'll see. But John Bernthal is there to the cast and news of its more street-level setting, and now we may have some more info about where it lands on the MCU timeline in relation to Avengers Doomsday. The set photos seen below, we'll look at them in a second, show some signage for a construction project that's happening in the film, with the information on the sign indicating that the project will be finished in December of 2027. This places Spider-Man Brand New Day as roughly contemporary or roughly the same time to Thunderbolts, which takes place in late 2027, according to the official timeline. Now, these pictures from the set of Spider-Man Brand New Day came out, and what you can see it's hard for you to see on my screen here, but it says work in progress, building artists, and it says completion December 2027, which would roughly put it around time as Thunderbolts. Now, they go on to write this. This, in turn, establishes roughly where Spider-Man Brand New Day will take place in the lead up to Avengers Doomsday, the events of which kick off 14 months after Thunderbolts, according to that film's post-credit scene, which appears to show the arrival of the Fantastic Four in the MCU from their alternate timeline of Earth 828. Okay, so granted, what Total Film is doing here is a little bit of arithmetic, but the math checks out.
It's canonical.
It is canonical. Now, again,
on-screen canonical.
I'm going to point out again, this is all based on this image.
It's literally like, I don't even want to see the movie anymore. This thing
I feel like I
spoiled
know
the movie.
everything.
Totally spoiled now. I'm
done.
not going.
Forget
Not
it.
going to go.
MCU's
So
dead.
they're saying what this image does is it establishes that the new Spider-Man movie is happening roughly at the same time as Thunderbolts. Not exactly the same time, but roughly the same time period. And since Thunderbolts picks up 14 months later, and that's when Fantastic Four shows up, their math is saying that means Spider-Man Brand New Day happens about, give or take a few months, about 1 year before the events that we're going to get in Avengers Doomsday. That's all predicated on this sign actually being accurate, not just Kevin Feige saying, I just put something, or Destin saying, I don't know, just write some data, just make some fake construction signs, and maybe it means nothing. But if they are paying attention to their details and they're trying to do even the little details right,
The little thing.
they would be right about that, which does open the door. Now we're getting into wild speculation, but it opens the door then for a Spider-Man Brand New Day to then continue the tradition now of the Russo brothers coming in and directing the post-credit scenes. Because remember, they directed the post-credit scene of Thunderbolts. They then came in and directed the post-credit scene of Fantastic Four. That they can then also come in, direct a post-credit scene of Spider-Man, which also, like in under Thunderbolts and like in under Fantastic Four, do a time jump forward and say this, all of which leads little pieces of breadcrumbs leading us into Avengers Doomsday. This report could very well be very wrong. Again, it's all predicated on a set photo, granted. But I'm going to say that the math checks out. And
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of buying into this right now. And it would make sense because what we have seen in the previous films is the Russo brothers come in, direct a post-credit scene that does a little bit of a time jump to lead us into Doomsday. So I'm buying it, Rob, right now. Are you buying into the logic here? And by the way, totally could be wrong. No, I'm not willing to put any money on this. Could totally be wrong. And what other, if it is right, what other possibilities does this open up?
Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, we've always talked about, I said that they're going to have to probably rejigger some of Spider-Man to lead into Avengers Doomsday because look, there isn't a better movie to have leading into another Avengers movie than Spider-Man, considering you're coming off of a $2 billion grossing No Way Home.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really smart move. I think it's also given them time, since they have more time, that and they've talked about how Avengers Doomsday has become very iterative. They had a script, but they've been changing it and plussing it as they've been going along. And the fact that you have this Spider-Man movie working in tandem, you can probably have an opportunity to set things up or do things. It's pretty great that they're both being made at the same time. So I think the timeline is correct. I mean, I think it does make sense. And I think they're very aware of it. I think they're very aware of making these films as tight as possible because you have Thunderbolts, which they ended going into with Fantastic Four. You've got Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. So what they've done is they've given themselves a nice runway in order to make sure that Doomsday has as much runway as it needs to really fly. And these 3 films preceding it, I mean, who knows who the Avengers are? I don't even know who's on the Avengers team. But I like the Thunderbolts, and they became the new Avengers. I like the Fantastic Four, and I like Spider-Man. So and I like the X-Men from the Fox universe. So I'm already primed. We went from being in a total state of shambles where we don't know who's on the lunchbox. Now it doesn't really matter who's on the lunchbox because we've got 4 other teams with the Fox X-Men that I want to see again. So it's a pretty good way I think they're going to do whatever they can to make these things work together. And I think they didn't put up a sign with a date on it haphazardly.
That is not something that Marvel normally does.
Right.
It's just haphazard. By the way, let me throw this out there. Had a vision. Here's
A vision, a white vision or a colored vision?
No, it is a vision of the post-credit scene of Spider-Man. So let's say they follow the pattern. Spider-Man Brand New Day ends. Punisher and Spider-Man beat the bad guy, whatever. And it ends with, I don't know, Peter and Zendaya getting married. I don't know. Fast forward 14 months. And you see Peter in his apartment with Zendaya. They hear a knock on the door. He goes, I'll get it. He goes to the door. Camera is just behind Peter's shoulder looking towards the door. He opens the door. And in a green robe, there's Robert Downey Jr. going, hi, Peter. And then screen goes black. And it says Spider-Man will return.
We've talked about
there or something.
We've talked. I guarantee you that something like that's going to happen. I'll even go one further. I like your dream. I like your prophecy. I think he says, you're coming with me. And they turn around and they walk through either a strange portal or something. And that's the end of the movie.
A Doom portal. He uses no strange portal. It's Doom
Yeah,
portal.
he's gonna. He will have already had his whatever he's got. He's in command of sorcery.
Sorry, somebody in the live chat, Dominic in the live chat, just said, John, I just said that in the live chat. I'm like, what? So I'm scrolling back through here, and sure enough, Dominic had already posted in the live chat. Post credits is Peter seeing RDJ's Doom appear on his doorstep.
Yeah, that's going to be it. And they're either going to go, but
All
yeah.
right, well, fair's fair. We'll send you your check, Dominic.
Yeah, fair's fair.
And the great thing is, to end on Peter's face or something like that. But I think they go. I don't think they just say hi, Peter. I think they're out. I think they go somewhere.
But now remember, from everything we understand, Tom Holland's not in Avengers Doomsday. From everything that we know and understand. Now, I know you don't buy that. You think he is going to be in it. I think maybe he comes in Secret Wars, but I don't know. Maybe he is in Doomsday as well. Hey, Peter. That would be, oh my God.
They're all
that would
making
be a
these
record
movies in
drop.
the same place.
Yeah.
They're all over in London right now, and London town. They're whatever they can do whatever the hell they want.
By the way, we haven't talked about that. Just to drop some lightly, like for the last bunch of years, Marvel's been shooting everything in Atlanta. They're moving production out of the U.S. They're going to shoot over.
The Vision series was in London.
Everything's going to be shooting over in Europe now. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this report? That, I mean, again, the pieces do fit together. That doesn't guarantee it's accurate, but kind of does. The pictures we're seeing from the set of Spider-Man Brand New Day do kind of make it in the same time period of Thunderbolts, which is about a year before the events of Avengers Doomsday. I don't know. It seems to make sense. Do you think that's what's happening here? Maybe you think it's something completely different. If it is real, what does that suggest to you where they may be going story-wise? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, it is time for us to bid good day to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
I'll be back.
And of course, now it's time for us to get to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. So, Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, we got JJ, who says, I agree that we should be done with the origin stories, specifically with Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. You're limiting the stories you can tell by circling back on the origin. But is there a case to be made that every generation deserves its own version of that?
I mean, it all depends. Two things. What do you mean by generation? Do you mean 15 years, 20 years? Or do you mean generation like 5 years ago? The second thing is this, is if a new iteration is going to change something about the traditional origins to set up their story. We brought up Batman Begins as an example of that, where the origin story of Batman and Batman Begins is directly tied into the overall plot of the movie. So that's where it becomes important. So yeah, if an origin story is going to be changed a little bit so it ties into the overall narrative, or if it's been significantly long enough since we've had an origin story, yeah, then I could see that too. Otherwise, if you don't need to tell an origin story, don't tell an origin story. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous. Last two Marvel and DC movies that were excellent in the theater together has to be Iron Man and The Dark Knight in 2008.
Were they both in theaters at the same time?
I'll have to look at the release date.
Because if they were, then you're right. What a good
would be a year, but Iron Man was April 30th, and what did he say? It was Dark Knight?
Dark Knight
was, I got it right here, was...
So April 30th.
Yeah,
for
July
Iron
16th, so May to June.
So
they might have touched a little bit.
It was Iron Man might have been out of theaters.
A little bit of the Sistine Chapel as the two fingers just barely touch.
Just barely there?
Yeah.
All right, we won't count that. That's 3 months apart. Yeah, but again, it just emphasizes though, like your point even makes it more stark, is that it's hard to really come up with when we had a really good DC film and a really good Marvel film both in theaters at the same time. It's a rare thing that we're really lucky to have right now. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hey John, since we got the official date for Michael, when do you think we will get a teaser and official poster?
Well, I mean, they've already put out a little bit of a teaser. I mean, they put out a little promo thing a while ago, and they've already put out rough poster art. So when did they say the new ones come? When did they say this one's coming out now again? Was it April of 2026?
Felt like the first one was... That sounds familiar.
I think April 2026. Anyway, if it is April 26, I don't expect that they would or should put out another trailer till at least November.
Yeah, because it still has the October date on box office. So yeah, that was pushed.
Yeah, I think it's April 2026. Anyway, I could be wrong about that. Oh, guys in the live chat, Stefan in the live chat is saying April 24th. So yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So I think the earliest they should is probably sometime around November. All right, what's next?
Let's see. We got Blaine. How you doing, Melvin? Hello, troops. I sent in a message the other day, but it sent an old instead. What it was meant to say was that I was about to catch Fantastic Four at the local cinema because my buddy Maddie worked as a PA on the movie.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That, by the way, that is the most thankless job. Being a PA on a movie set is one of the most thankless jobs you can ever see. I've been on a lot of movie sets, and I've seen what PA like. There is never a second that a PA on a healthy, functional movie set where the PA is actually doing their job. I've never seen a PA who is not completely stressed out.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what.
And you just can't make these movies without them.
No, but and man, you want to know how a real production set works? You become a PA, and if you can get up through the ranks, one day maybe assistant director, maybe someday second, whatever. Like you can move up the ranks, but you got to put in a lot of work.
Yeah, and be ready for your stress levels to be through the roof. All right, what's next?
We got Mr. I. There's a possibility we had a great Marvel and DC movie. Oh, we covered this back in 2008. Iron Man came out May 2nd, depending on how long the theater was running it. I may have still been there for The Dark Knight in July 18th, but I mean, just barely. Like, yeah, it would have been in like the tiny theaters.
Yeah, if it was still in theaters, it would have been. It's not one that I could count as legitimately both being out in theaters right now.
There was literally,
they are number 1 and number 2 at the box office right now. Fantastic Four and Superman. I mean, again, this is a lucky time for us who are fans of the genre that we have both a really good DC film and a really good Marvel film at the same time. And I'm hoping this is just a taste of things to come over the next 5 years. Because I mean, how great would it be to constantly have a quality flow of DC films and Marvel films coming out? It would just be awesome. All right, what's next?
Nelly. Am I the only one who thought Silver Surfer tube riding through a wormhole and surfing on
let's move on.
Oh, well, okay. I didn't, because we saw that all in the trailer, but
that you know what, that's true. There was a glimpse.
But just that her surfing on that stuff was cool.
It was visually it was one of I think maybe it was the most visually amazing thing I saw in the movie. And there's a lot of good visuals in this movie, but watching the surfer surf was thrilling. It just looked fantastic.
Even her control, because we saw this in the trailer too, but when she like flipped her board to get Johnny off of it, it was just like so cool.
That quick little yeah, that was really good. All right, what's next?
Michael says, hey, John, since Michael is going to be at 2 parts at CinemaCon, did they show a little Michael at all or just older Michael?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. We definitely saw older Michael.
Okay.
So that's why.
So you're probably a movie 2 at this point. Then.
Yeah, that's why we gig. Because remember, Michael was going to be one movie that was going to come in close to 4 hours, maybe longer. When they showed us footage, it was still, the idea was it was just going to be one movie. And when they showed us this big presentation for Michael, we saw Michael in his post-Jackson 5 years. There was also some of it in his younger years as well. So having seen some footage of Michael in his post-Jackson 5 years, and then reading that official report in the trade saying the first film will end when he leaves the Jackson 5, and now they're developing the second film. Like, we giggled, developing. You already shot most of it. We already saw the footage of a bunch of them. So yes, we did see adult Michael in that footage they showed us at CinemaCon. All right, what's next?
All right, Michael continues. I can't wait for Michael to be released. It's going to be global. I think the theaters are going to be packed with emotions. Part 1 will definitely be $1 billion film. I actually think it's part 2. $1 billion film. It will make most of the money out of the country. Listen, out of the country, I agree with, but I think part 2 makes more than the first one.
I think part 2 makes more than the first one, but I think they both make $1 billion. If Bohemian Rhapsody can make just about $1 billion, rightfully so, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
Michael is absolutely. Yeah. And by splitting this in 2, now they're going to make $2 billion. Michael is going to be $1 billion film. I mean, you never really know until, but this is one of these things that this far I'd be willing to put money on. I think Michael will be $1 billion film. Then the second one will make even more money. I don't know if it's going to be good, but I have a feeling it will be. I mean, Antoine Fuqua's directing it. All right. What's next?
Glenn. Hi, John. With the success of K-pop, Demon Hunters, and Korean content in general, do you think there is a market for projects for Marvel's Luna Snow, DC's Huntress, or Sony's Silk? Should studios fast track these projects to get a first mover advantage?
One has nothing to do with the other.
It really, yeah.
There's literally nothing in common.
Because audiences are going to look at that as just a Marvel.
Like, unless you're going to say Silk is a K-pop singer.
Right.
Which she's not.
They were developing some Silk content, weren't they?
They were. There were a couple of Silk projects that were going to come out, and then they got scrapped. So yeah, there's simply nothing connecting one to the other. There's no similarity between them. So I would say one has nothing to do with the other. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, it's already been revealed by people behind the scenes that Avatar will eventually go back to Earth. I have a feeling that the shot of Jake being arrested and put into a helicopter in the trailer is actually the last shot of the movie. It's hard to say.
I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that. And while James Cameron has hinted that at some point we may get back on Earth, I don't think that's happening in this movie. And I don't even think it's going to happen in the fourth.
Probably like the finale, right?
Yeah, I don't know that for sure, but I'm thinking it's going to be the fifth film. If anything, it'll probably be the fifth film. But
and you know what? When people, we tend to look at these shots that are just used at random by the marketing team
and
for
out
trailers,
of context,
and we're like, I know what that is a scene for this, like what, and then it never turns out to be that scene.
Or it rarely does.
Rarely.
It rarely does. So, yeah, I don't think that's the last shot of the movie. I don't think James Cameron would be putting the last shot of the movie in the first trailer. I think it's probably something that happens near the end. My guess, that's something that happens near the end of the second act that's going to spark the events of the third act. But that's just a guess. All right, what's next?
Orlando with a $20 tip. Says,
Thank you, Orlando.
Says, I love it when this happens. I'm bored flipping through streaming services. On top of one of my services pops up a show, 2 actors I've never seen, and a premise that is old and tired. I say, what the heck? I'll give it 1 episode. 3.48 seconds is all it took. I don't know what he saw, but yeah, it's cool when that stuff happens. It's like you get hooked on something you weren't, you know.
So he's saying a show popped up that he doesn't recognize anything about it, and then he got hooked on it? Is
within like
saying?
3.5 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I wish you told us what show it was.
I know.
That would have been a nice little bit of context.
Yeah.
It's always magic when a show can hook you, at least in the first episode. Like, I'm so tired of shows, and listen, some of my favorites, like one of my all-time favorite television shows, Spartacus. The first 3 episodes are some of the worst television I've ever seen in my life. But then it becomes one of the most, but I love it when a show can just be great and hook you right away. Heroes did that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that with the end of the first episode, with the vision of the future and the whole save the cheerleader, save the world, like when it can hook you in the first episode. Battlestar Galactica did that. A lot of shows, it takes you a while. Pitt did that for me this year. But yeah, that is something pretty magical when you just start watching a show and it instantly grabs you. All right, what's next?
McDavid deserves better, says Brandon Sklinar's trainer made a post about training him for his biggest role yet. Well, we know how that works out with trainers. And made a point to only like Batman replies. Not exactly subtle. That trainer was never seen again. He meets to so much criteria, talent, physique, age, grain of salt. I know, but the cat appears to be outish. I don't know.
Nope. 100% no. You know why? Because James Gunn's already said they're not going to cast until they have the script finished, and they don't have the script finished.
I think that trainer's looking for...
Remember, the last time we all got all twisted up about a trainer, remember, I think it was Cox's trainer.
They're still looking for the body.
Said, oh, I'm training Charlie Cox for
Avengers.
For Avengers. We now know for a fact he's not in Avengers. So... and Charles Cox says, like, look, he spoke completely out of turn. It was not for Avengers. It was for this that I was training for, blah, blah. So I know I saw everybody running around. Some random guy who you've never met and I've never met and I've never heard of in my life said something. I'm not going to put any stock in it. Now, again, does that mean it's impossible? Not impossible. It's not impossible at all. But is it likely? It's not likely. Again, James Gunn has tripled re-emphasized. We are not casting the role until we've got a full completed script, and we are still working on the script. Therefore, they haven't cast it. So there's that. All right, what's next?
Oh, okay. I think Orlando has another $20 tip.
Oh, thank you, Orlando.
I read ahead. So stop what you're doing. Give it 3.48 seconds, and I promise you will be hooked. That's all, 3.48. This will be your next Office Parks and Recreation, The Rookie, and Shrinking All in One. I'm only 3.48 seconds in. I had to send this. Good Cop, Bad Cop. I've never heard of it.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
That's the show that got him hooked.
There's a great Canadian movie called Good Cop, Bon Cop, French Canadian. I wish I was lying, but it's true. It's actually a very good movie. Good Cop, Bon Cop. Anyway, yeah, I have somebody saying it's a CW show. Polar Bear saying it's really good. I've never heard of it. I'll keep my eye open for you. Put it on my radar now, Orlando. I will keep my eye open for it. All right, what's next?
Brandon says, Rob is so irresponsible, just casually introducing people to hot toys without any care in the world how it'll affect their bank accounts or marriages. Anyway, my sixth one this year is arriving today in the mail. He's Joker.
That's a good one.
I don't have an addiction. I want the Thing, dude. The Thing looks so cool.
Look, let's be honest. I haven't seen a single hot toy that I thought, well, they didn't do a good job on this one. Often people ask me, John, why do you only have 4 hot toys?
I know,
Which my
rookie.
response is, because if I bought a 5th, I would have 30. And I bought my 4 I haven't bought a new hot toy in years, because I bought my first hot toy and my 4th hot toy all within about a 4-month span of each other. These are like $250 to $350, some $400 a piece. And once I got the 4th one, I'm like, no mas, no more. I can't. I can't justify spending that kind of money. Some people often ask me, John, how do you have the money to buy this or some of the things I have? It's because 2 reasons. One, I don't spend my money on anything else. I don't drink, which I remember my buddy and I kind of sat down and did some rough calculations about how much he's not like a heavy drinker at all, but how much money he spends on alcohol a year between being out and being home. And like his eyeballs, but it's like, I spend that much a year on drink. It's like, that's money I have to buy other shit. And I don't allow myself any kind of vices that I spend a lot of my money on. Now, that means Rob gets to have a great, wonderful, awe-inspiring hot toy collection, and I don't, but it means I get to do some other things. So yeah, man, the reason I have 4 is because if I bought a 5th, I would blink and I would have 30, and I would also have an empty bank account. So yeah, it is a wonderful hobby, but it is a dangerous hobby. Be very, very careful about getting them. That's why it was more okay for me to get hooked on buying pops, because I was dropping $10 a piece as opposed to dropping $375 on one.
Dude, just wait till the Hot Toys releases the Link from Legend of Zelda.
Oh my God. That's going to be so cool.
Alex says, wow, what a movie. I always had hope the Fantastic Four could be a great movie and break the curse if done right by the right passionate people behind it. I love the Thing in this, and Herbie is a trooper. Seeing this again sometime in the middle of the week.
You know, after we saw it for the first time, Ann said, did you catch that Herbie swore? I'm like, I didn't hear Herbie say a single legitimate word.
I heard him say hello once.
But what was it? What moment was it? Something happens, and Ann pointed it out to me. I'm trying to remember the scene in which it happens now. But something happens, and you hear Herbie clearly, just in the inflection, says, what the fuck? Because you told, he goes, rah, rah, rah. And it's totally, I totally know he's saying, what the fuck? I could totally, like, and so Ann had to point that out to me in between our first and second viewing. And then I watched out for it in the second viewing. There's no doubt. That's exactly what that robot is saying. So I thought that was Immortal Ray is saying 1,000%. Seconds from Disaster saying, I caught that too. Yeah, I didn't catch it the first time, but Ann caught it, and now I can't unsee it. All right, what's next?
Alex follows up. Also, the body horror conversation with you and Rob from the last few live streams. I think you're overlooking what the Dead Space games can achieve in terms of pure nightmarish body horrors with the necromorphs. Just saying, love y'all, John and crew.
I mean, I'm aware of the game. I've never played it. I've never watched it. I never saw cutscenes from it. And I mean, I'm sure you're right. Again, I just have no experience with that, so I wouldn't be able to comment on it. All right, what's next?
We got Blake. Fantastic Four was a solid movie, but much like Superman, what it did great was establish characters that people will love and want to see again. That was really the secret sauce of peak MCU to me. You wanted to hang out with the characters, so you went back.
That is the key ingredient to a lot of stuff in entertainment. The reason I got hooked on the show Supernatural, and I was hooked on that show, and I was late to it, but I think I picked it up in like season 3 or season 4 and then just was with it ever since for all like 15 seasons, was not because they had the most advanced story writing and the deepest of narratives. They had good stories, don't get me wrong. But the thing that hooked me was I wanted to hang out with these characters. Every week I would look forward to, for an hour, being able to hang out with Sam and Dean and Castiel and, you know, Crowley. And like, I just like being able to hang out with these characters. When Superman ended on my first screening of it, all I wanted to do was come back and watch it again so I could just hang out with these characters again, particularly with Superman. I can't wait to have the Fantastic Four on screen again, just to be amidst them in their dynamics, right? That is a key thing, man. You can overcome a lot of weaknesses in your project if you have it that the audiences just love being with your characters. If you can accomplish that, it'll cover up a lot of other stuff. All right, what's next?
We got The Tick. Hot take. The Thing from Josh Trank's movie is still one that looks best. I like the costume makeup of Chickless, but it's still clearly a costume. And in First Steps, he's wonderfully expressive, but looks too animated. In 2015, it looks like he's there. There's moments where I felt like he feels a little animated, but most of it felt very realistic to me.
You know what I said? I said this during my open spoiler discussion, is that Michael Chiklis's thing was a real physical suit. And yet I thought Eben Moss-Bachrach's thing felt more real than Michael Chiklis's one did. And by the way, I love Michael Chiklis. All due respect for Michael Chiklis and how he played that character in that huge suit is crazy. But even though his was actually real and Eben Moss was actually CGI, Eben Moss's thing to me felt more real than the real thing. I don't know that I agree with how he looked in the Josh Trank one. Again, I hesitate calling it Josh Trank's because the way the studio mutilated that movie, very little of it remained as Josh Trank's movie at any rate. Yeah. And again, we were bringing it up earlier. Was that Fantastic Four, the one that Josh Trank started off directing? Is that a bad movie? Yes. But when you really sit down and think about it, it had a number of things going for it. And actually, I thought the design of Thing in that was actually pretty cool. I actually kind of liked it. Anyway. All right. What's next?
All right. This is kind of interesting. Well, maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow. I don't know. But Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore Variety just said that has the biggest Netflix US opening ever, 46.7 million.
Well,
That's
good for
crazy.
them.
I don't know that I'm more curious about the trajectory.
Yeah. And
where that
because
goes.
The word on the movie isn't great.
Yeah.
I think the last time I checked, I thought the rating on it was like in its 50s or something like that. Anyway, hard to say. But listen, it's a sequel to a cult classical popular movie, and you're dropping it where people who have Netflix can just watch it for free. Not surprised.
Yep.
And you're right. I think we should talk about it tomorrow.
We got a new track says, do you think it's a bad idea for Disney to release Avengers Doomsday and Ice Age on the same day? No. I know that Ice Age is under the Fox division, but it's still the same day under the umbrella. I don't think Ice Age has been doing great. It's like the 7th one.
Yeah. I still don't even know why they're even making that movie. I really don't. That aside, I don't think they'll end up having them released on the same day. Remember, Ice Age was already there, and then Marvel moved it to that date. I suspect you're going to see them move that Ice Age thing out. I don't even know why they're making the movie, but I don't think it's going to be there on that date.
The others made really like a lot of money, right? 800 some million. And then the last one they put out was like half that, like 400 million. And I don't know.
Hey, 400 million is still a lot, man.
Yeah, but
I
the
can't
trajectory
believe
of that is like,
is anybody care about that anymore?
So does
I
it
don't
become
know.
300 million? I don't know.
All right, what's next?
Big cookie. Two-parter. Okay, John, I'm here for your Canada expertise today. I started watching a show called Shoresy. Pretty good so far. Hockey comedy set in Sudbury, starring the dirtiest player in the world. But now I've come to find out it's actually a spin-off.
It is. I was going to say it's a spinoff.
Yeah, Canadian series called Letterkenny
Letterkenny.
from creator Jared Kiso. I had never heard of either show nor the creator until yesterday. I just wanted to give you some time to flex any knowledge you have in his department. Wave your Canada flag for a minute.
Yeah, I've never watched the spinoff. And look, Letterkenny came out long after I had moved to the LA area, right? So I got turned on to it a couple of years ago. I remember me and Rob and Aaron, I think we watched like the first episode or something, got hooked on it. I've never watched the follow-up though. Now look, it's not as good as say Kim's Convenience or Schitt's Creek. But it's really funny. If you guys want a really good laugh, just look up Letterkenny on YouTube and look up some clips. It's a guarantee to at least make you laugh. It's not as smart or as quick-witted or as emotionally satisfying as well, like having real heart to it, like say Kim's Convenience and Schitt's Creek do, but it's vulgar and it's whatever, but it's really funny. It's a really funny thing, but I've never seen the spinoff. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Anonymous who says, I'm kind of dumbfounded how Lightstorm doesn't try more with the Avatar extended universe with stuff like a novel or a game not developed by Ubisoft. All that world building, and only Ubisoft got to develop Avatar games over the years.
I have no idea about who owns the rights to Avatar games or anything like that. So it's probably a rights thing, but I don't follow the video game industry news, so I really don't know what's at play there. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous. People always say audiences are done with the multiverse, but when you look at Marvel's most successful projects, post Endgame, they are multiversal events. No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, Deadpool, and Wolverine, because it actually dealt with the multiverse. Everything else just adds more characters and leaves us with dead ends.
Yeah, and it's ruined the MCU. Multiverse doesn't sell tickets. All right? Multiverse doesn't sell tickets. Having everybody's Spider-Man all together sells tickets. Well, that is multiverse. But multiverse as a story paradigm is not what brings people in. And that's why when you literally ask people, do you like the multiverse stuff? The vast majority of people like me say, no, I'm ready for this to be over. Like you literally, there's no stakes. Nothing means anything. Oh no, Gamora's dead. Don't worry. We got another one right here. Looks just like her. Totally same thing. It's just, it ruins storytelling because it takes away all meaning. It takes away all stakes. It takes away all consequences. Nothing means anything in multiversal storytelling. It really doesn't. And that doesn't mean, like, I'm not a big fan of time travel being used either, but that doesn't mean there aren't some great examples of time travel, right? Star Trek 4, Back to the Future. There are some that are really, really great, and you can do some great storytelling stuff with multiverse. Absolutely, you can. But as a whole, it just ruins your cinematic universe. And I remember sitting at CinemaCon a couple of years ago when Kevin Feige came out and said, we're calling this next phase the multiverse saga. And you could just hear Dave Chappelle going, oh no, it was a mistake. And I'm just ready for them. Now I'm looking forward to them killing it with Doomsday and Secret Wars and really leveraging all the good stuff about multiversal storytelling and really killing it with that. But I am so excited that he said, that's it. That's the end of their multiverse saga. They're moving on from multiverse and I cannot wait. All right. What's next?
We got Willoughby Sting with a two-parter. It's probably just me, but despite a solid effort by this by Fantastic Four, I feel like movies that involve gigantic cosmic objects that could or indeed wipe out planets and all life on them aren't being shown as scary enough. I rarely feel the dread, that's up here, The exceptions and standouts with this trope in the last 30 years are that Steve Carell movie, which I'm not sure which one that is, and Rogue One. More so than in Episode 4, that makes the Death Star something to be feared. That is terror among the stars, certain doom from the skies.
I've always had a problem with threats that clearly there's no real answer to it other than try to find a backdoor sneaky way around it. It's like you can't fight Galactus, not the traditional Galactus at any rate, right? I think they did a pretty good job showing Galactus. I'm getting into spoiler territory here, so I can't really answer your question other than the fact that I thought the movie did a very good job on it, because I think in general, you're right. A lot of movies where there's global threats. Well, there's so many movies where the world is at stake that we become desensitized to it, and it's hard to feel that dread. I agree with that. But I do think in Fantastic Four, the movie itself, the way it's structured and what builds up to it, I thought they did a pretty good job of really elevating the threat level and feeling like this world's in trouble. As a matter of fact, before the movie ended, a lot of people, including me, kind of thought like, oh yeah, this movie's going to end with Galactus destroying the world. And then we're going to fast forward into the events of like the Fantastic Four get away. This was the theory we constructed at the end of Thunderbolts.
Right.
That Galactus is going to destroy their world. And then the Fantastic Four show up in where they escape that reality and show up here. And so that's how good they built up the threat level. So while I agree with you in general, I disagree with you about the specific situation with this Fantastic Four, because I thought they did a good job with that. All right, what's next?
We got PC Gamer. Hey, John Rob, apparently on Saturday at Hall H during the Peacemaker Season 2 panel, there was a rumor of a Snyder fanatic trying to disrupt the entire panel to get Gunn and Cena's, I don't know why I said Cena's attention. Downright scary. Should WB and Gunn hire more security?
I've heard, like, if it's a rumor, I don't know that I believe it.
And also, they have plenty of security in there. I mean, him getting in, no one was going to know someone was going to shout out.
Well, first of all, I don't
something
even buy that's
if that even happened.
That this is even true.
Yeah.
I have my doubts that this is even real. I wasn't there. I don't know.
I'm shocked there isn't video of it. If it happened.
Yeah,
That
but
seems like...
I mean, I think anybody can start a rumor to say something. But listen, I will say this though: even if it was real, there are crazies at everything, trying to get somebody's attention and trying to whatever. There's crazies at everything. So number one, I don't believe it actually happened. But number two, even if it did happen, it's Tuesday. It's not really anything new or whatever. So I wouldn't really pay much attention to it. All right, what's next?
Curious Chris, as a doting uncle who would do anything for his nieces and nephews, I really resonated with Johnny and Ben's portrayals as uncles in Fantastic Four, especially Johnny's. I'd love to see Johnny and Franklin develop a close bond in future films. Many tears will shed. Yeah,
again, can't go into what it is you're talking about because I don't want to give away specific things that happen in the movie. But I'll just say this in response to what you're saying, that I love all the characters in the movie. Particularly the core Fantastic Four. I love the way they manifested those characters. I love the rendition of these characters, and I cannot wait to see them on screen again. All right, what's next?
We got Curious Chris. Just started taking music composition lessons to learn how to write orchestral music. My dream is to get my master's in film scoring at Berklee College of Music in Valencia. When I write my first score, I'll be sure to send a personal copy.
Well, first of all, that you are doing the thing that 95% of people fail to do. You have a dream and a goal. Okay, everybody gets that part. Everybody's got a dream. The problem is most people stop. Most people, in my experience, sit around and wait for somebody to hand them their dream, or for a golden opportunity to present itself. Having a goal and a dream isn't the problem. The problem is most people don't want to actually do something about it. They don't want, like, you know how many times, Jonathan, like seriously, how many times over the nearly 20 years I've been doing this, the number's high, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
How many times I've gotten a version of the following email: I love movies. I want to get and be a movie maker, but I don't want to go to film school. How do I get into movies? So you don't want to actually do the work. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to film school, and or there are people in the movie business who didn't go to film school. I'm not saying otherwise, but so you're looking for shortcuts. You don't want to actually, you're not passionate about this. You don't actually want to dedicate the time and the effort and the sacrifice, because it's not cheap to go to film school. You don't want to do any of that stuff. You just want, where's the magic button that I press to be in the movie business? Show me the magic button. It's kind of like the same way everybody writes to me and says, like, when people write to me about YouTube stuff, very rarely do people write to me and say, hey, John, what are the areas I need to work on to be a better YouTuber? Or what are the areas I need to work on and develop? And what are the exercises, or what are the disciplines I should work on to improving myself as a podcaster? That's not what people write to me. What people write to me is, John, how do I get a bigger audience? John, how do I make more money on this? And it's like, you're starting off by asking the wrong question. You should be asking, how do I make YouTube videos that people would want to watch? You should be asking, how do I develop as a podcaster to be somebody that people would want to listen to? But it's always the same question, whether I'm doing panels or people writing to me, it's, how do I get this? And what I love about the thing you just sent in is you've already done the hardest thing, man. You've taken a step to actually do something to accomplish. The number one piece of advice I always give everybody, and it's advice I follow myself: do something every day, no matter how big or how small. Do something every day that moves you a little bit closer to your goals. Sometimes it's tiny steps. Sometimes it's big steps, like committing to going to school to learn the art and learn the craft and get something. And that's just, listen, I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm just telling you my actual experience. It's people don't want to do what you need to do. You know, I also always tell people, do the things you got to do today so you can do the things you want to do tomorrow, you know? And too many people don't want to do that. They don't want the work. They don't want the sacrifice. They don't want the effort. They just want, where's the magic button I press to get into the movie business? Where's the magic button that I press to get 100,000 viewers on my YouTube channel? You have already done the most important thing, man. And that's huge. And you're an example for the rest of us. All right, what's next?
We got Todd, who says, this is kind of along the same lines. Hey, John, love Fantastic Four. As a longtime fan of comic books and horror films, I decided to chase my dream and write my first horror slasher novel. What if today was the last? I'm about 15,000 words in, loving the character creation arcs.
Listen, I encourage everybody all the time. I've made videos about this. If you are a fan, just in general, if you're a fan, get involved in the object of your fandom. I think every film fan should make a movie. Even if it's just hit record on your camera, point it at your friends, say action, and then 5 minutes later hit stop and say cut. Like, I think every fan should get involved in making their own little movie, writing their own scripts, making podcasts, whatever, because even if 5 people watch or listen, or 500 people watch and listen, it is you getting more involved in the fandom, and it's you, even if it's in a big or a small way, contributing back to the fandom. And I think that's great, man. I think that's awesome that you're doing that. All right, what's next?
Curious Chris, besides the well-known classics like those done by the GOAT John Williams, are there any older or lesser-known films you really like that I should give a listen to? I want to expose myself to as much as I can. You know what I would, if you're leaning towards John Williams as your ultimate inspiration, read up on his inspirations and watch those movies.
Like Alfred E. Newman.
Yeah.
Alfred Newman and guys like that. Yeah, man, like the smaller films, it's hard for me to really think of a lot. Like, often soundtrack very rarely is the thing that jumps out to me or remains memorable for me. It does happen, but it's not common for me. I would really say, listen to the work of Howard Shore. And because Howard Shore's stuff, man, is haunting in a great way. So I would recommend going and checking that stuff out.
Yeah. And also don't shy away from the classicals, right? Like, get really used to like Tchaikovsky and people like that. You know, you don't want to just look, because these people drew inspiration from elsewhere as well. So it's not just movies.
right, what's
Curious Chris, besides, we just read that one. I got to scroll up. Anonymous, just a quick shout out. Alien Earth comes out in 2 weeks. I'm really excited. So we're going to have Alien Earth and right on the heels, Peacemaker season 2.
And Predator Badlands.
And Predator Badlands.
I'm getting more and more excited for this show, man.
Yeah.
I the more I see of it, the higher quality it looks. I think this is going to be great. You got a great showrunner in Noah Hawley. I think this is going to be really good. I'm really, really excited about it. All right, what's next?
Dameron, sadly, I haven't sent a tip in years, but I need to know what's your current favorite ice cream. We used to discuss this on stream.
My current favorite ice cream, because I'm an ice cream fiend. I love ice cream, but I don't like the more complicated ice creams. I don't like nut anything. I don't like peanuts in anything. I like peanut butter in my ice cream, but I don't like nuts. I don't like fruit flavors. I like your vanillas, chocolates, chocolate sauces, caramels, and versions of that. So for a long time, my go-to one was vanilla caramel fudge. Which not Ben and Jerry's. What's the other one? Anyway, vanilla caramel fudge was my go-to one. Cookies and cream is one I go back to all the time.
You can't go wrong with cookies.
No, can't go wrong with cookies and cream. So cookies and cream will be my go-to for about a year. Then something else will be my go-to. Haagen-Dazs's peanut butter is like becomes one. Then I'll go back to cookies and cream for 6 months, and maybe I'll do my current one is what's called the movie scoop. That is the name Anne has given to my ice cream. About a month ago, I got really into making my own ice cream. And I've never talked about it on the show, but I now make my own ice cream. And I really like it. Like, I really do.
New business coming out, Campea's Cones.
And Anne calls it the movie scoop. She wants me to start making it in larger quantities and distributing it around the neighborhood. And it's called the movie scoop. So my current one that I'm doing right now, I just made it for a get together we had this weekend. It's a chocolate, but I utilize cocoa powder and chocolate pudding mix with a homogenized chocolate milk, a little less heavy cream, a little more stevia and a little less sugar. And I crush up and put in buttercup cookies, or not cookies, just buttercups.
Yeah.
I like greased peanut butter cups, mix it in there. And I'm not going to, listen, not to toot my own horn, but it's freaking delicious. And somebody's asked me, do I use the Ninja ice cream maker? I do not. I was looking at the Ninja ice cream maker for a while, but I didn't like how many steps were involved. I ended up getting the, what's the name of it? It's this really highfalutin kitchen brand.
Cuisinart?
Cuisinart. Thank you.
Boom.
Well done. I got the Cuisinart maker and I use that one. All right. What's next?
Inspector Guru. Hey, John, since Marvel is supposed to reboot, do you think they will start with origin stories with the X-Men, or are they already established?
Number one, stop this. They are not supposed to reboot. Nobody has said they're rebooting. Like, they even brought it up in an interview the other day about, like, are you guys going to reboot? No. Reboot is not the word that we use. We're not rebooting. I mean, as always, the Marvel cinematic, the story changes as we go. It always has. Like right from the beginning of the MCU, the direction of the MCU changes and whatever with each new movie that comes out.
Yeah.
So this thing going around out there, this Mandela effect going around out there that, oh yeah, they're rebooting. No, they're not. They're not. But they said they're recasting Tony Stark. Yeah, but Kevin Feige was very specific in saying, yeah, we may recast Tony, but that doesn't mean it's a totally different Tony. Like other films recast roles sometimes. So, it's not rebooting. Now, some people then use semantics and go, well, is it kind of like a soft reboot? Who knows how they're going to describe it? But yeah, things are going to change after Secret Wars. But it's not reboot. They're not starting the MCU over again. It's just going to be the next chapter, the next era. Some significant changes for sure, but it's just moving ahead. All right. Last question. We're already past 1 o'clock. So last question of the day.
Okay, we got Jay Mickle. No Way Home is the second biggest opening weekend of all time. What do you think the floor will be for Brand New Day's opening weekend? No Way Home felt like the true ending of the Infinity Saga after Endgame and Far From Home. What are your thoughts?
I disagree. I never felt like it. To me, it felt like movie 1 of the next phase. It felt like film 1 of phase 4.
I did too.
It never, to me, felt like it was the end. That was the end of the Infinity Saga. But that's whatever. That's even the phases are just arbitrarily made up fake numbers. I mean, so it doesn't really mean anything. The thing about that movie was you were coming off of Endgame, yes, but the main thing was everybody's favorite Spider-Man were all coming back.
Uh-huh.
So that was the big thing. Spider-Man Brand New Day, it's hard to say what it's going to do opening weekend when we haven't even begun to see promos or trailers, and we're a long way away from trailers. So Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm just pulling up the actual number here. It opened with $260 million opening weekend, which I believe you're right. I believe that is the second biggest opening weekend of all time. Let me just bring up Infinity War, because Infinity War, I believe, made less than that on its opening weekend. Infinity War was 257.
And Endgame was 357.
Yeah, it was like by far the biggest.
Yeah.
Right now, no, I don't think Spider-Man Brand New Day opens at $260 million or higher. I think it definitely opens lower, probably closer to like the 190. Which would still be one of the biggest openings of all time.
Hey, Spider-Man 2 was 92 million, so that's good.
You just got to remember a couple things. This is not going to have that same novelty that we had with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
Fewer people are going to the movies today than when Spider-Man No Way Home came out. And movie tickets are more expensive now than when Spider-Man No Way Home came out. So I'm thinking 190, 200. But ask me that again in 5 months when we start to get our first kind of peaks of promotional material and all kind of, because that could totally change. The number could go much lower. It could go much higher. So at this point, it's really, really hard to say. All right, guys, there's still a couple of questions we didn't get to. Don't worry. We'll start off tomorrow with the ones that we didn't get to right now. But for now, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who did send in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. We'll look forward to seeing you there. A big thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, to our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.